Tien stepped out of the quiet path, leading to her small farm, her heart light with anticipation. She had spent the morning in the bustling market, her basket filled with fresh vegetables, and her thoughts lingering on the warm conversations she had with the friendly vendors. But as she rounded the corner, her steps slowed, and a cold wave of dread washed over her. The farm was silent. Too silent. Her chickens, usually clucking happily, were gone. The pigs that should have been squealing and shuffling in their pen were nowhere to be seen. The wooden gate swung lazily on its rusty hinges, and the yard, usually alive with the sound of livestock, was eerily empty. Panic seized her chest. She dropped her basket, its contents spilling across the dirt path, and she ran, her eyes darting around in desperate confusion. Who did this? She whispered, her voice choked with fear. She rushed towards the house, hoping against hope that this was just a terrible misunderstanding. But inside, her worst fears were confirmed. The cupboards were ransacked. The few precious belongings she had were missing, and even the old gas stove, a gift from her neighbor, had been taken. Her eyes filled with tears, her mind racing. Who would do this? Why would anyone steal from her? Her trembling hands reached for her phone. The first person she thought of was Jack. He had always been there for her, a constant presence, a source of strength. As the phone rang, she paced anxiously, biting her lip, whispering prayers under her breath. "Jack, please pick up." The call finally connected, and his voice, warm but laced with concern, washed over her like a calming wave. "Tien. What's wrong?" They took everything, Jack. The chickens, the pigs, even the things in the house. I don't know what to do. Stay there, I'm coming. Jack's voice was steady, but beneath it, she could hear the tension. He hung up, and she stood frozen in the doorway, her mind a storm of fear and disbelief. Who could have done this? Who would steal from someone with so little? It wasn't long before Jack's motorcycle roared into the clearing. He jumped off, his eyes scanning the empty pens, the open doors, and the despair on Tien's face. "Are you hurt?" he asked, rushing to her side. She shook her head, but tears spilled down her cheeks. "No. But everything's gone, Jack. It's all gone." Jack gently pulled her into his arms, letting her sob against his chest. His own heart ached, but beneath the sadness, a spark of anger ignited. Whoever did this would pay. "Don't worry, Tien. We'll figure this out. I won't let them get away with this." But Jack was not just a man of promises. He was a man of action. That night, as Tien sat by the dim glow of a flickering candle, too overwhelmed to sleep, Jack made calls. He spoke to his friend Tien, a man with connections and a sharp mind. Together they traced leads, and soon enough they found something. A shop owner recalled seeing a man selling a suspiciously large number of chickens and pigs just a few hours after the theft. And the man had been in a hurry, his clothes dirty, his face pale with fear. It was a lead, and Jack clung to it. But as he dug deeper, what he uncovered was far more than just a simple theft. The man who sold the livestock wasn't just a random thief. He was part of a group that had been watching Tien's farm for days, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But who were they, and why did they target her? Jack's investigation led him to a familiar name, Mr. Ngo, a shady figure known for fencing stolen goods. Jack's jaw tightened as he listened to the recording Tien had managed to obtain. Mr. Ngo was bargaining with the thief, laughing as they discussed the price of the stolen livestock. They didn't even realize she was still alive. One of the men laughed. "We thought she wouldn't come back." "This makes it even easier." Rage flared in Jack's chest. They thought she wouldn't come back. Were they planning something even more sinister? Had they expected Tien to be gone permanently? He clenched his fists, his mind racing. But this was more than just about stolen animals now. This was about Tien's safety. Someone wanted her gone. Someone who was willing to steal, to manipulate, even to hurt her. Jack couldn't let that happen. When he returned to the farm, Tien was still awake, sitting by the window, her eyes fixed on the dark forest beyond. She turned at the sound of his footsteps, her face a mixture of hope and fear. "Jack, did you find out anything?" He hesitated, then forced a calm smile. "Just a few leads. But don't worry. We'll get everything back. But what if they come back? What if they try to hurt me? Jack's heart ached at the fear in her voice. He stepped closer, gently taking her hands in his. I won't let that happen to Tien. I promise. But as he spoke, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The shadows around them were growing darker. The men who had stolen from her were not just thieves. They were part of something bigger, something dangerous. The next day, Jack met with Tien and another friend, Tung. Together, they crafted a plan. But it was a plan that made Jack's stomach twist with unease. We used Tien as bait, Tung suggested, his voice calm, almost clinical. We set a trap, lure them out, and then we take them down. No, Jack's voice was sharp. I won't put her in danger. I understand, Jack, Tung replied. But if we don't draw them out, they will keep coming. They think she's an easy target. We show them they're wrong. Jack's hands clenched into fists. Every instinct told him to protect Tien, to keep her away from the danger. But the logical part of him knew that without facing this threat head-on, they would never be safe. Fine, he whispered, his voice strained. But I stay by her side. Every second. Tung nodded. Of course. And we will have backup. Police officers in plain clothes. They won't see it coming. As night fell, Jack returned to the farm. Tien was in the garden, her gentle hands brushing against the leaves of her few remaining plants. He approached her quietly, trying to mask his fear. Tien. He began, his voice soft but firm. There's something we need to do, but you have to trust me. Her eyes met his, wide with confusion. What is it, Jack? We need to set a trap, to stop them from hurting you again. Her face paled. A trap, but what if they... What if... I will be right there. I will protect you. You're not alone. She looked at him for a long moment, fear battling with the trust in her heart. And then she nodded. Okay, I trust you. But even as she spoke, the words, Jack's heart twisted. He was leading her into danger, even if it was to protect her. And he knew if anything happened to her, he would never forgive himself. That night, he stayed by her side, watching over her as she slept, his mind racing with plans and fears. Somewhere in the darkness, the shadows were watching. But he was ready. He would fight them. He would protect her, no matter the cost. Under the dusky light of the setting sun, the farm stretched endlessly, a quiet refuge, far from the chaos that seemed to follow them. Jack stood by the old fence, his hands rough from days of hard work, but his gaze was gentle, watching Tien. She was kneeling by the garden, her delicate fingers brushing against the soil, her face a canvas of quiet sorrow. Ever since they came here, Jack had tried to keep her safe, to give her a life far from the shadows that haunted her. But peace seemed like a fragile dream. Jack, do you think he's okay? Her voice broke the silence, barely more than a whisper. She didn't need to say his name. Jack knew she meant her father, or the man she. Jack sighed, stepping closer. The crunch of gravel under his boots, the only sound. I don't know, Tien. I wish I could tell you everything will be fine. But things are complicated. Her fingers dug into the soil, the cool earth grounding her, but her heart raced. I thought I knew him. I thought I had a family. Her voice cracked, and tears welled up. You do, Jack whispered, kneeling beside her. You have me. No matter what happens, you have me. Tien leaned into his embrace, her body trembling as silent sobs escaped. Jack held her tightly, feeling her pain as if it were his own. He had always tried to protect her, but how could he protect her from the truth? It was just a week ago that Jack had discovered the horrifying secret. The man Tien had always called father wasn't her real father. He was a man with a dark past, tangled in the web of crime and deception. Jack had tried to shield her from the truth, but secrets had a way of tearing through even the strongest walls. The first cracks appeared when the police came, their faces stern, their questions relentless. They spoke of a girl named Huang, someone who had fled, leaving behind a trail of chaos. They asked about Tien's father, about his connections, and Jack's heart pounded with fear. He had known the man had secrets, but he never imagined they were this dangerous. "Please tell me everything you know," the lead officer had said, his voice calm but unyielding. Jack had hesitated, torn between protecting Tien and telling the truth. But the truth was like a poison, one that would destroy her if kept hidden. So he told them everything he knew. About the strange men who visited the farm, about the nights when Tien's father would disappear without a word. And the officers listened, their expressions growing darker with each word. That night, after the police left, Jack had found Tien sitting by the window, staring into the darkness. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear. "Jack, are they going to arrest him?" she had whispered. "I don't know." Jack had replied, his voice gentle. "But I promise I won't let anything happen to you." But even as he spoke, he knew he couldn't protect her from the truth. It was a storm that had already begun, and they were caught in its path. In the days that followed, the air seemed heavier, the silence more oppressive. Jack tried to distract Tien with work around the farm, tending the garden, caring for the pregnant dog, fixing the broken fence. But nothing could erase the fear in her eyes. Then came the final blow. A letter delivered by the police, a simple piece of paper that shattered Tien's world. The man she had called father had confessed. Not only was he not her biological father, but he had been using her as a cover, hiding from the dangerous people he had wronged. He had betrayed her in the worst way. Tien's tears fell silently, her shoulders shaking. Jack stayed by her side, whispering words of comfort, but his heart broke with hers. "He never loved me," she whispered. "I was just something he used to hide. I thought I had a family. You do, Tien. You have me, and you always will." Jack's voice was steady, but inside he felt a storm raging. He wanted to protect her, to take away her pain, but all he could do was hold her, to be her anchor in the darkness. But darkness had a way of creeping in. Even as Jack tried to help her rebuild, the shadows grew. The police continued their investigation, their questions becoming more urgent. They spoke of a criminal network, of a mastermind who was still at large. And Jack knew that the danger wasn't over. One evening, as the sky bled orange and red, Jack found Tien by the old tree, her gaze distant. "I don't know who I am anymore, Jack," she whispered. "Everything I thought I knew, it was all a lie. You are Tien. You are kind, brave, and strong. That's who you are." Jack replied, his voice filled with quiet strength. "I thought I had a family." She murmured, tears spilling down her cheeks. "You do," Jack whispered, brushing a tear from her face. "You have me." And in that moment, as the wind whispered through the leaves, Tien leaned against Jack, her tears flowing freely. But in his arms, she felt a warmth, a safety she had never known. He was her rock, her shelter from the storm. But even as they clung to each other, the storm continued to rage around them. The police warned Jack to be cautious, telling him that the criminals involved were dangerous. They asked about a girl named Huang, and Jack's stomach twisted. He remembered her, a girl who used to work for them, a girl with a sharp smile and a dangerous edge. "She's not just a runaway," the officer told him. "She's one of them, and she's still out there." Jack tightened his grip on Tien's hand, fear gnawing at his heart. He had thought the farm would be a place of peace, a sanctuary away from the chaos. But now it felt like a prison surrounded by shadows. "I won't let them hurt you, Tien. I promise." Jack's voice was fierce, but even he could not deny the fear that lurked beneath his calm facade. Days turned into weeks. The quiet life they had once known, now overshadowed by anxiety. Jack worked tirelessly, repairing the broken fence, fixing the leaking roof, trying to create a sense of normalcy. But every knock at the door, every shadow on the road sent a chill down his spine. Tien tried to smile, tried to find joy in the simple things. The blooming flowers, the gentle breeze. But the pain lingered, a dull ache in her chest. Her nights were restless, her dreams filled with faces she couldn't remember, voices whispering lies and betrayal. But in those dark moments, there was always Jack, his steady presence, his warm embrace. He was the one constant, the light that refused to be extinguished. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Jack looked at her, his eyes filled with quiet determination. "We will get through this, Tien. I promise you, we will rebuild together." Tien looked at him, her lips trembling, and for the first time in days, a faint smile touched her face. "Promise me. You won't leave me." "Never," Jack whispered, his voice a vow. And in that moment, despite the darkness that surrounded them, there was a spark of hope. But in the shadows beyond the farm, danger still lurked. And Jack knew that the fight was far from over. Jack's return to the countryside was not only to oversee the construction of the inter-village bridge, but also a quiet mission of the heart. As he walked along the muddy road lined with overgrown grass and the scent of rain lingering in the air, his thoughts were occupied by Tien. While his official task involved checking the foundation progress, his deeper intention was to check on the foundation of someone's emotional well-being, someone who had recently been dealt a cruel hand by fate. He could still remember the call from his mother, her voice slightly hesitant, but warm, mentioning how Tien had been quiet, withdrawn, since her father, the one who raised her, had sold off all her beloved pets. It wasn't the first time Jack had heard about someone being betrayed by a person they trusted, but something about this one struck a nerve. Maybe it was the way his mother paused when she said sold everything, or how she mentioned that Tien had taken to caring for her remaining animals, as if trying to restore what little sense of safety she had left. Jack felt it, not pity, but something heavier like responsibility mixed with quiet affection. As he crossed the field that led to the edge of Tien's farm, he noticed how things had fallen into disrepair. The embankments were broken. The bamboo fencing had collapsed. Weeds had overtaken much of the ground. The stone steps, he remembered, were cracked and mossy, and in the distance he could hear the faint bark of puppies and the soft rustle of grass being cut. Jack adjusted the strap of the bag slung over his shoulder, full of food and gifts his mother had packed: grapes, apples, shrimp, paste cakes. It wasn't just a visit, it was an offering. Tien was crouched near the vegetable patch, her back to him, pulling weeds and whispering something to the golden mother dog, who looked at her with trusting eyes. The sight pierced Jack with a tenderness he didn't expect. She turned surprised to see him, and her eyes softened instantly. No dramatic tears, no loud welcome, just a simple, "You're here," followed by a quiet smile. That smile, he realized, carried the weight of all the sorrow she hadn't spoken aloud. They fell into routine quickly. Jack helped push a cart of grass. Tien explained how she had been cooking porridge for the puppies to ensure the mother dog had enough milk. He listened as she spoke of simple things: the garden, the animals, the weather, and though her words were light, the heaviness in her tone couldn't be ignored. Still, she tried. That alone moved him. Jack unpacked the food. The fruits from the south were placed carefully on the kitchen counter. He washed the apples and grapes, teased her about the cake's strange shape, and insisted on cooking for her chicken boiled with herbs she picked herself. She protested lightly, but eventually relented, allowing herself to enjoy the warmth of the meal, the presence of someone who didn't demand explanations. Later, under the full moon, they sat on the steps of the small wooden house. The puppies slept nearby, curled against their mother. The garden was quiet, the world paused. Jack turned to her and said, "You know, I want you to be happy. I want you to build something beautiful here, not just survive." She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she looked at the moon, then at the soft pile of fruit beside her, and whispered, "I just want something that's mine, something I can grow and sell and maybe one day be proud of." He asked her what she needed. "Books," she said. "I want to learn how to cook better, to make cakes and maybe sell them at the market." Jack promised to buy them. He promised more than that he would help fix the embankments, replace the broken floorboards, rebuild what had been lost. She didn't ask for it, but she let him promise, and that meant something. The conversation drifted as they peeled grapes and fed scraps to the cat. Tien spoke of her father. She didn't cry. She only said, "It wasn't the betrayal that hurt the most. It was that I kept hoping I'd have a real family." Jack didn't say anything. He didn't need to. His presence was the answer. The next day, they moved with quiet rhythm. He helped fetch bricks, she made soup, they cleaned the yard. At lunch, Jack's mother called. He stepped away briefly to reassure her everything was fine. "She's smiling again," he said. She's even planning to sell cakes. His mother chuckled. That girl has always been stronger than you think. Just don't let her carry everything alone. In the evening, Jack brought up the idea of her coming to stay at his place, at least until the weather turned. She declined gently, saying she felt more at home on the farm now. Besides, she added, if you're working nearby and you stop by often, it's almost the same. He nodded, pretending not to feel the way her words landed. They ended the day by bathing the dogs, laughing, when one of the puppies jumped into the water bucket. Jack promised to build a small shelter for them in the corner of the garden. You're becoming a farmer, she teased. He grinned. No, just someone who wants to see you do well. As night fell again, the air felt less heavy. They sat at the edge of the porch legs, swinging the scent of steamed chicken lingering. Jack looked at her, and for the first time since arriving, he saw not just sadness in her, but light. She had not forgotten what happened, but she had started to believe again. Tien leaned her head gently against his shoulder. Neither of them said a word, and in that silence something important passed between them. Not a confession, not a decision, just the quiet understanding that whatever came next, they would face it together.